Good afternoon. I thought I'd go and do a relative off-season podcast. I know baseball season is going on right now, but I am gearing up for a 3 different fantasy hockey drafts in the next month or so. These are all for Dynasty leagues. I'm going to have another 3 of them waiting for me on Yahoo, probably closer to the end of September. Hockey season won't start till the middle of October, like the 16th, but the season schedule won't come out until the 17th of July, so it's a little hard to kind of do some projections right now. And it's also a little hard to do projections because you don't know who's been drafted and where. Maybe a player's going to fall and find themselves in a better situation they otherwise would have, but these aren't going to really mess with the rankings more than plus or minus about 5 of them or so. So, I'd like to go over some places that I get my Dynasty rankings from, my first year player rankings, rookie rankings, depending on which one. In baseball, you call it first year player draft because you'll have players get drafted in the MLB draft in the middle of the summertime, and then those players plus any overseas signings will be eligible for your FYPD first year player draft player pool the following spring in March or so. Sometimes you'll start in late April or late February, but most of the time you'll be there probably about the second to third week of March. Probably the second week of March you'll start. And if you run slow drafts, it'll go it'll take a couple weeks, but you'll be there before the league before the season starts. But they've had that weird international series the last couple of years, so it gets a little dicey once you get to the back end of round 2. Some leagues I'm in have 2 rounds of drafts, some have 3, some have 5. One of them has just 5. So for baseball, I like to use CBS Sports as a standard ranking of here's like the top 50 to 100 prospects. Sometimes the articles will have projections for more specific, hey, this player at their peak will hit 280, score 75 runs, and hit 20 to 25 home runs, have about an 80 RBI max, and will sometimes steal 10 to 15 stolen bases. But that won't happen all the time. I couldn't find it when I was re-looking for links right now, but I know in previous years CBS has had individual player breakdown, here's the maximum. A good website for that is Imaginary Brick Wall. This guy gives paragraph minimum descriptions of these players, what they were in high school, college, overseas, what their skills are, what they project to be once they make it up to the major league level. He has really good numbers. He has reason behind him. I love Imaginary Brick Wall because it goes really deep. It gives me a good solid pool of players when I am looking at the end of a 18-team draft. You're at the end of round 3 and you're like, man, I need a player. Or on my 2 Frantrax leagues that are both either 18 or 20 teams and both are 5-round drafts. So once you get down there, now you're looking at prospects that are like 100th prospect ranking for a year. So now it's not just, well, this guy is in the first round, the second round, or the third round. You've got guys that are injured. You've got guys that aren't going to sign their deal for one reason or another. You've got guys that will flame out right away. You need backups. Oh, this guy that has a really good hit tool and is good defensively but has nothing else. Maybe you take a flyer on him, like Jack Wilson, who had an 80 grade on his hit tool, but nothing else. I took a flyer on him in one league, traded him, stupid, picked him up at the back end of a redraft in a keep 9, like the second to last pick in the draft, like round 22 for a 14-team league? 12-team league. And all of a sudden, it's like, bam, look, I've got a guy that now has some unexpected power, has a little bit of speed, but he's cranking out a 360 average regularly. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't go and look at Imaginary Brick Wall. Other ones that are good is Rotoballer will give you good rankings and a little kind of like snippet of things. Dynasty Guru is another good one for like checking your rankings versus other rankings. Just kind of so you get an average. Not all rankings are going to be the same. Generally, your top 5 more or less are going to be in the same order, and then your 5 to 15 start to phase up and down depending on how much stock you put into pitching versus hitting. I know I've caught a couple guys that have fallen. Hae-sung Kim, that came out of Korea, they said decent hitter, not much else. At best, a 265 hitter, he'll be all right. And then he goes to the Dodgers, who's deep as fuck. All of a sudden, he's out, and it's like, okay, let's give him regular playing time. Give him regular playing time, and all of a sudden, he's hitting like 330 plus. And then when you just put him in like twice a week, every other week, he's like, oh, well, I just went 0 for 7. And now in a 3-week period, I went like 3 for 12. At best. Like, you go like 3 for 14 or whatever the fuck. And it's like, wow, this guy sucks. No, he doesn't suck. He just needs regular reps. But if you checked the rankings, he was anywhere between 15th and 30th. And there were a lot of places I was getting him toward that 30th area. Frantrax is another good one. Frantrax has a deep list, 100 plus. No, they go 150 deep, excuse me. Because they break it into 2 sets of 75. But they are really good. They will sometimes give you statistical breakdown. One I don't have in my list, but one that I thought of while talking is Fangraphs. And while they aren't a rank, while they do have ranks, I don't look at their ranks. I look at their scouting breakdowns for players. That way I can be like, oh, this guy has, the reason why they're rated so highly is because they have a 70 grade on their defense, or they have a 65 grade on their defense, but across the board, they're like a 30 on everything, which means they suck. They're going to be a defensive replacement. But they will also give you current versus future, which means, hey, how well is he right now? Oh, he's got a 50 grade hit tool, but he maxes out as a 50 grade hit tool. That is like, well, if I need more help now versus later, I will draft him. But if I'm stockpiling guys for later, it's kind of like, well, this guy has the 30 hit tool, but he maxes out at 65. Fuck it, just take a chance on that guy. I'm throwing out numbers like that. In baseball, they scout on a 20 to 80 scale, with 50 being average. So 55 is above average, 45 is below average, 40 is poor, 35 is even worse. Like, your stone-footed power hitters are all going to have like a 30 speed, but have like a 60 raw power or 60 game power. So I like to look at that and be like, who has a good hit tool, but, is so-so on everything else. Maybe he'll hit well enough to stay, up in the league. He will be that bat off the bench and then get a chance and roll. So that's for baseball. And baseball, you can get ranks for everybody, everywhere. Next, for football. Football, I don't worry about the rookie rankings nearly as much. I typically use Fantasy Pros, and that's it. And then I will check those rankings versus projections from other websites. Like, ESPN will put out projections. CBS Sports, Football Guys. Yahoo will have projections, but I don't use Yahoo's projections nearly as much as I used to. Not when I ran, way more teams than I should have. I think I run 4 teams a year on Yahoo now. I was running 12 to 16 when I was an absolute degenerate back in college or just after. When it's like, I have all this time in the world, I can do it. So now it's like, I got 4 teams, and it's going to be like, I'm going to have 2 on ESPN, I'm going to have 2 on Yahoo, and maybe a third on Yahoo. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do, and I'm not going to stress out about it. So yeah, like, I'll use ESPN, CBS, and football guys, but those are just rookies within the overall rankings. There's not really a, here's my, number 1 prospect, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 prospect outside of Fantasy Pros. And Fantasy Pros makes it so easy. Okay, of all the rookie running backs, you are running back 1, running back 2, running back 3, 4, like, and so on. Hell, it could be like, hey, where's tight end 6 going this year? Because I need a guy. I mean, you shouldn't need a guy that bad. If you need tight end 6 in a rookie draft, you are either A, in a really wide and deep league, or B, you are really bad at your team and there's nobody on the waiver wire. So, whatever. So football's pretty easy to kind of like, football's probably the easiest to get in and out on rankings. Or projections, I should say. Football is easier on projections. Baseball is easier on rankings. They both have what they need. The one I'm really focusing on this year, though, is for fantasy hockey. Because all my hockey leagues are all dynasty leagues. I don't plan on running a redraft next year. I plan on I'll run 1 redraft, and that's only because I've been in it for 3, almost 4 years in a row with a bunch of guys in another set of leagues. So I'll do that, but like I'm gonna run 5 dynasty teams right now. I've got 3 on Frantrax, and I'm gonna have at least 2 more on Yahoo. There might be a third one on Yahoo. I've actually got to check that when they start back up again. I mean, hell, hockey season just ended like less than a week ago. So Yahoo's not on it. ESPN definitely won't be on it. I'm not going to go back to the ESPN redraft that I was in because we dropped down to an 8-team league. And they are weekly pickups. And with 8 teams, it's so weird for me. All the guys I'm doing research on are all fringe roster guys. Guys that are like third line wingers that if they only get a chance on the power play, they'll make something of themselves. Or these defensive players that are like, hey, I'm playing like 13-minute third pair, 6th, 7th D minutes, but if you just give me a chance, let me get on power play 2, or let me run a bunch of penalty kill. Just give me an extra 2 to 3 minutes, get them up to 16, 17 minutes, and all of a sudden, their peripheral stats, their shots, hits, and blocks, aka their bash, will just go through the roof. In fact, that's one of the things that I want to try and find out more about, but the information is just not available outside of some European leagues. European leagues will keep track of hits, will sometimes keep track of hits and blocks, but the American and Canadian minor leagues and juniors won't do that nearly as much. Like, you can find it once in a blue moon, but it won't be counted every year, and it's not on the official websites. Like for the OHL, the Ontario Hockey League, the QMJHL, the Quebec Maritime, QMJ Maritime Junior Hockey League, and then you got the WHL, the Western Hockey League, which is West Canada. So you have West Canada, Ontario, and then you have the Quebec and Maritime provinces. And, like, you can sort through their stats, their shots, they'll keep track, their shorthanded versus power play, they'll keep track of, all their points, they'll keep track of. But I've got to drill down on assessments, scouting assessments, that will tell me how physical they are, but they all say that they're physical, and that's a problem. Once they're all counted as physical, I can't tell who's actually physical. Who's going to throw some hits? who's actually going to go lay out for some blocks. Like, you have some guys that no matter what team they're on, they will always hit a lot. No matter what position they are, they will always block a lot. So those guys, I like running cats leagues because I like learning all that stuff. I've very rarely done points leagues, and that's only for the Keeping Karlsson thing. So, like, for hockey, there's rankings on elite prospects that I like to go through for the draft. There's YouTube rankings, various people, Graph Tech, and sometimes the hockey guy will do stuff, but he doesn't do a lot of prospects. He's mainly just NHL's stuff. There's various Reddit posts that I'll actually break down some of these stats that I like to get at. There's no one person every year that I look at. I like to kind of shop around a little and be like, oh, well, this is a stat I haven't heard of. Let me do some research on it. Dauber Prospects will give a list. So they'll give some in the run-up to the draft, but they will also give it in the immediate aftermath where they update their Dynasty prospect rankings. And they are really, really good at that. So it's like, hey, how good are they? Oh, wow, if they make it to the NHL, they have a chance at being a second-line or a first-line guy. Sweet. Uh-oh. But they have so many defensive deficiencies or skating deficiencies, they have less than a 50% chance of that. So they give upsides and then certainty. Maybe you have a guy that's a solid all-around guy that can contribute, but he's not amazing at any one thing, so he's not going to turn out fantastic. So maybe his NHL certainty is above an 8.0 on a 10 scale, but his fantasy score is going to be like a 5.5, maybe a 6. But on the other hand, maybe you have an exciting prospect that gets injured all the time. So maybe his NHL certainty is like a 5, but his upside is like an 8.5. So then you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons there. One that I'm going to look at is Taha Loan's Top 100 Skaters. He's got breakdowns for peak, for average, and their absolute floor for some of these players. And while I know some of the comparisons, the comps, I don't know all of them. So this forces me to go back and do more research on hockey players and be like, hey, who is this guy? Hey, who is that guy? Okay, I know that name. What kind of player was he? Because I didn't watch him while he was actually playing. So I have a lot of stuff to go over. And as much as I want to get in the weeds of, wow, this guy's really good, but he's not going to get drafted till the 4th round, the odds of making it to the NHL when drafted outside of the 1st round or even 2nd round is exceedingly small. Like, this is not the NFL where you are there and you just need to get told that you're getting play time. This is more akin to baseball, where you are going to go into a minor league system and then you are not going to come up to the majors for 2 to 5 or even 6 years, depending on the player. And if you're a goalie, it could be upwards of 7 years before you even sniff the NHL. It's an astoundingly long road ahead of you. It takes a lot of time. So some of these players, you're like, yes, I'm going to take him and hope to God that he's all right not only this year, but 2 to 3 years down the line, and they make something of himself. So, like, that's how I normally do my research. I'll go in, get a list. I'll try and find out where I'm drafting in my league first. And be like, okay, I'm at the 17, 37, 54, and 60th picks overall. Let me look who's being ranked in those areas. So I'll jot down 4 or 5 guys. Okay, cool. Check him. And then kind of go through. Okay, this guy, cool. Okay, that guy, cool. Oh, he might slip. I'll have a better chance at this versus that. So I've got guys for one league that I'm co-managing with another guy. I know who I want. We've got 5 picks. The question is he going to be sold on the same players that I am? And if he's not, that's okay. Both of us are really good at pivoting and listening to the other person. Hey, I think that. And as long as the other person doesn't, like, object to it, all of us are like, yeah, sure, whatever, if I could go for it. You'll make that pick, I'll make that pick. And I mean, it happened last year where I'm like, hey, I am out of commission, I'm out of contact. can you take care of this? Whoever you like, go for it. We are so late in this that these are dart throws, hoping that someone will make something of themselves. And that's it. So, I've got a bunch of research to do today because I need to expand the pool. I've zeroed in my guys, but I need to know other players that my co-manager wants, and we'll go and talk to each other because the NHL draft isn't even till later this week. This is Sunday the 22nd. That draft isn't going to be till like the 26th and 27th or 27th and 28th. It's got to be 27 and 28 Friday, Saturday. So once that happens, I'll have a little firmer grasp on how this is going to work because I've got a league, I believe one I just jumped into, and I'm taking a massive risk here because this is a money league and I'm taking over someone's team. And that draft starts on the 30th at 6 a.m., which means a week from tomorrow is the draft there. And then the other leagues start July 27th, which is the last Sunday in July. And I'll have about a week to get those drafts done before I go out of town for a 4-day weekend, which will be very interesting in one league because I won't be able to actually make any picks there. So we'll see what happens. I have a ton of fun. I get so lost in the weeds of, wow, this guy's really cool. Ooh, that's a big number. Ooh, that's a small number. Ooh, that's another big number. Ooh, that's a small number. Why doesn't that number work? Oh, that number isn't there. Okay, how can I make up things? So I will come back after the NHL draft and be like, oh my god, these guys are absolutely going to be available. I can't wait to pick them. I also can't wait to hear about the Dynasty League I was in and see where I draft in it, or if they're going to have me back this year. I got let go from a job back in March, which is why I started doing podcasts again, and they already have 2 people that aren't working there that are still in the league, that want to be in the league. One of them was an engineer that was there for years, and then another one is like a college best friend of one of the co-owners. So I'm going to make a push and see if I'm still in the league. And hopefully hopefully I can still join in because I want to be able to do some stuff about fantasy football Dynasty. Otherwise, this is going to be very, very interesting. I might actually start a new football team in the fall, which should be fun. This should be entertaining. But until then, this is how I organize. This is who I look at for baseball, football, and hockey. And if I ever get into basketball, I'll try and figure that out again. But that is so far beyond me that I've just stopped with basketball in the last 5 years. I can't do it anymore. All right. Thank you all. Have a good one. Take care.